Feito por Elas, o podcast que discute o protagonismo das mulheres no audiovisual.
Oi, gente, eu sou Isabel Wittmann e essa entrevista faz parte da cobertura do Feito por Elas da 49ª Mostra Internacional de Cinema de São Paulo. Eu tive a oportunidade de conversar com o Doros no dia 18 de outubro. Ele, junto com a esposa dele, a Amy Heller, é um dos sócios fundadores da Miilestone Films, que é uma empresa que foi criada em 1990 para restaurar e também para distribuir filmes. Eles têm foco em filmes menos representados no mercado, então são geralmente filmes mudos, são documentários. Eles também têm tentado distribuir filmes que são realizados por mulheres, filmes que são realizados por pessoas negras, por pessoas LGBTs, e filmes que também vêm de países que são fora dos Estados Unidos, né? E aqui na mostra eles estavam exibindo uma versão restaurada, uma nova versão restaurada, porque já teve versões anteriores, que eles estão chamando de uma reimaginação do Queen Kelly. Eles chamam de reimaginação porque, na verdade, esse é um filme inacabado, então tem coisas que não tem como recriar, porque elas, na verdade, nunca existiram, né? E o Queen Kelly é um filme que foi dirigido pelo Erich Von Stroheim e protagonizado pela Gloria Swanson. Ele foi filmado em 1929 e teria sido lançado em 1932. Foram diversos os fatores para o fracasso do filme, né, para o cancelamento dele. Ele teria sido a grande obra-prima do Von Stroheim, teria tido 5 horas de duração, né? A atriz também era a pessoa que estava financiando o projeto, achou que os gastos estavam excessivos, que o filme era muito extravagante e cancelou a obra, mas também existia uma certa pressão pelo fato de que nessa época já se tinha uma demanda por filmes sonoros e, enfim, ele pegou essa transição que foi um pouco complicada para os filmes mudos, né? E a reimaginação feita pelo Doros e pela equipe dele tem cerca de 1h45 de duração e ela tem as cenas que foram filmadas na época, todas as cenas que se encontrou até hoje, né? De rolos de filmes que foram encontrados, e também inclui fotos da produção, os storyboards e intertítulos que são usados de uma maneira bem interessante para explicar essas partes que estão faltando, para completar, né, então, essas 3 horas de filme que faltam. O filme ele ficou famoso porque a Gloria Swanson emprestou, então, um trecho dele, que é a cena que aparece em Crepúsculos dos Deuses, quando a personagem dela, Norma Desmond, fala: nós não precisamos de diálogos, né? Nós tínhamos rostos, né? E eu conversei com o Denis sobre essa obra, né? Que é tão bonita, a gente vê realmente a escala de produção do que estava sendo realizado ali, e esse trabalho que é muito fascinante, né? Esse trabalho de restauro e de preservação desses filmes que poderiam estar se perdendo no tempo. E você confere, então, essa entrevista agora. I just want to thank you for having us in this interview, and thank you very much for the restoration of Queen Kelly. I think it's a wonderful work you did, you and your team. And first of all, I want to ask you about the work you did and how do you first get to know the movie and how it became a project to you.
Well, thank you for having me. And first, my team is led by my wife and the president of Miilestone, Amy Heller, so I wanted to mention her here. Yes. She's obviously half the team, but she couldn't be here. How I found, I was sitting at my desk. I was a non-theatrical salesman, which meant I was renting 16mm prints to colleges and film societies. I had one of the least important jobs in cinema. And my boss came to me, Donald Krim, and he said, I've been working for a long time. Gloria Swanson died, but the estate has licensed us the rights to Queen Kelly and Sadie Thompson. And Queen Kelly was never finished, and Sadie Thompson is missing its last reel. Mm-hmm. And I had seen a restoration of Lost Horizon that Robert Gitt at UCLA in California had done, where he added stills to the soundtrack to finish the lost minute of Lost Horizon, and I had seen a couple others that had just been done around that time. I said, why don't we use stills and intertitles, and we'll complete the films. And he said, can you do that? And I didn't expect it. I said, let's get somebody to do it. And he said, can you do it? And I lied, and I said, yes, I can. And that's how I got to know Queen Kelly. I spent months in research, a year and a half in the restoration, which seemed like a long time back then, but for a lot of people, that's a very short time. Archivists can spend decades on a film. And I got to know the Swanson estate, the people involved, saw her papers at the Harry Ransom Center in Texas. And in 1985, in a photochemical process, because digital didn't exist, I created a version that opened at the Berlinale in 1985, came down to Sao Paulo and won the International Critics Prize, which when I was told this, that's interesting. I'm now winning awards. I thought I was a fraud at that time. And that's this first step. And 30 years later, the Gloria Swanson estate came back and said, the old company doesn't want the film anymore. Do you want it? And this was my first cinematic child, so it came back to me.
Kind of like a lifetime job, almost like a project that took you all your life.
I'm not the first. A lot of archivists have been known to spend their entire lives on a film. Kevin Brownlow in England with Napoleon, Bob Gitt at UCLA with Becky Sharp. There are some films we can't escape because they mean so much to us, and because the evolving technology, you have to restore it each time again. This will not be the last restoration of Queen Kelly or anything I've done. Of course.
And what was the change of technology that permitted you to make this version of the restoration?
First, I was able to edit digitally at home in my basement and sit at home and relax and think and take days and come back to it and all that. When I was working photochemically, I had to go to the lab every night, which was a 2-hour ride every night because I was working during the day. And I would work from 9 o'clock at night till 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to piece together thousands of pieces of negative to create the master negative for the film. And you couldn't improve what it was. In fact, it was degraded because it was the next generation. There was the nitrate to the negative to the positive. It was 2 generations removed from what I was working on. With digital, the George Eastman Museum in Rochester was able to digitize in 4K the original nitrate material. So it looks like nitrate on the screen because it is coming from the nitrate. And with digital cleanup and removing the scratches, the dust, not all of it because I wanted to make it still feel like film. It looks so much better now. And I hate to say that because I love photochemical and I love film is tactile. Film is an emotional response. You're holding it in your hands. In digital, you're using your hands and little buttons to move things around. It's not the same, but it can look so much better and it can recreate the feel of the original material so much better, which is ironic. But if you do it right and if you care and love for the way it should look, then digital has these enormous advantages.
Yeah, it looks so beautiful. And one thing that is interesting is that Queen Kelly is almost mythical because it's on Sunset Boulevard and everyone knows that line, "We had faces." So I think that one thing that the movie has is this aura that attracts people, cinephiles, to watch the movie. And do you think that this contributes to the interest and to have a particular interest and to, I don't know, not a lot of people have a particular interest in silent black and white films, and this film has attracted so many people in festivals and so on.
Well, by coincidence, because I took my time restoring Queen Kelly, it's the 75th anniversary of Sunset Boulevard. So especially in the United States, that film is being screened in multiplexes all around the country, so people had a chance to see Sunset Boulevard on a big screen this year. My wife and I went to our local shopping mall and watched it, which is an astonishing idea in the United States because you don't often get to see older films at multiplexes. Charlotte Barker and Paramount and her team at Paramount did a beautiful job restoring that film. So yes, there's an extra resonance this year because of the 75th anniversary of it. Erich Von Stroheim is in Sunset Boulevard playing her ex-lover / butler who is now writing her fan letters to her to keep the illusion of stardom. So Queen Kelly also has a mythical status, as does Joseph von Sternberg's I, Claudius, Clouseau's Inferno, films by geniuses that were never, what would have happened if they were able to finish their films. And so there's that also mythical loss of a genius's work. What could have been, there's authors who have had this with last books that were never finished. So there is that longing to see what would have done. And I did my best to give a feeling of what Von Stroheim could have done if he had finished it. It's not ever going to be a restoration. It's a reimagining because I can't restore what's there, what's not there.
Of course. Yeah, and I think there's a sense of scale watching the film that is amazing. There's a sassiness also. The first part in the palace, I think it's amazing, the sassiness of the film, but the sense of scale, not just because the movie was supposed to be 5 hours, but because the first section is amazing, is gigantic. The parties, the costume, the palace, it's also beautiful. You can see the money of the production going away.
It was budgeted correctly. It was probably going to finish near budget, but Von Stroheim's genius was the enormous scale with the beauty of his close-ups. And
amazing.
With Paul Ivano, Gloria Swanson said, "This is the first cinematographer who could truly capture my face." So there is this combination of this grand scale and the Queen's bath and the beds and the sculptures. And my favorite part that I didn't realize in 1985 probably is there was a wall of photographs of women in the princess's boudoir of his past successes. So there's a lot of detail and a lot of beautiful costuming and all that, but there's the faces, the close-ups.
Yeah.
The close-up in Sunset Boulevard where Gloria Swanson and Queen Kelly is praying at the altar and the candles surround her beautiful face.
She indeed had the face.
Yes, she did.
She's so beautiful. And I also understand her frustration because I think when the film moves to Africa, it turns out so green, like it's a completely different movie. Like it has, like I said, a sassiness and a different style in the European part, and then it just becomes so full of sorrow, and it's just a different movie completely. I don't know how it's so tragic. I don't know.
I think there was to be humor in it, and Tully Marshall, of course, plays his role as a syphilitic plantation owner to the hilt. He was always one of Von Stroheim's favorites. It's a mirror image of civilization.
Yeah.
And what is civilized and what is not. And the unfortunate part is Gloria Swanson, Patricia Kelly becoming Queen Kelly.
Yeah.
And this regal, beautiful woman from this innocent convent girl. I think it would have been not happier, but it would have been more magnificent because of the transformation of this woman still being innocent because she has refused the advances of her syphilitic husband. Mm-hmm. Smart move. And so there was going to be some real intimacy, some real moving footage that was never shot. And that's the tragedy of it. But it is Von Stroheim showing the underbelly of civilization and what man truly is. And the Queen, the most regal person in the film is one of the most vicious, horrifying women of all time,
Yes.
played by the fabulous Sina Owen, who's one of my favorite actresses.
She's amazing.
Yes.
And the ending with the photos, the drawings, intertitles is such a creative way to express what the film could have been. How do you compile all the elements to create this combination?
Originally in 1985, I did it all in my head. I had diagrams, notes on each photograph, was how the stills photographer was going to zoom in on which side of the photograph. Everything had to be done in advance and shot on film. And there couldn't be a mistake because it had to fit together. And honestly, I don't know how I did it in 1985 because I had no experience. And I had no firm knowledge of silent film the way I did later on. Silent films were much harder to see then. I had seen a lot in college. I had seen this, but I didn't understand silent film language until after 1985. So this time, with the chance of digital and sitting at my desk and looking at the images and comparing all the shots, I was able to create a better flow, not faster, but smoother flow to the images and the intertitles. I still couldn't do it successfully because I'm doing 3 hours of film in 5 minutes. But I think I was able to do a better job of it. And there was no AI. It was all using film methods that would have been done in 1929. Blowing up the image, slowing down the image, things like that was done all the time.
It is very good. It is very nice.
Thank you.
And how has been the experience to see the public, the people seeing the film at the festivals right now?
Well, the first time was in Venice a month ago. And it's 1,400 people. The 25-year-old composer of the score, who I should mention, Eli Denson, who's incredible and a wonderful person, was there. He got engaged the day before. And it's 1,400 people, live orchestra. Francis Ford Coppola and Alexander Payne are sitting 2 seats away from me. And everybody, the paparazzi are filling these things because of Coppola. I could not have imagined that. An archivist works in a dark room. I work in my basement. This is not our life. And thankfully, my daughter was married last year, and I had a very fancy silver embroidered velour jacket to wear for the occasion. Archivists usually don't get to dress up for these events, nor are they photographed by the paparazzi. So it was an incredible occasion. But New York Film Festival was also wonderful, and the response to the journalists here in Sao Paulo. The film hasn't shown yet. It's tonight? Tonight's the first screening. Mm-hmm. The excitement over this film in Sao Paulo is not something that I could have imagined. New York and Venice wasn't very interested in interviewing me, and the excitement of you and everybody else has been just wonderful. So I'm hoping for a great night tonight.
We love old movies.
Actresses.
Yeah. And besides Queen Kelly, what's your favorite project you worked on, Miilestone?
Well, our favorite of all time is working on a 1977 African-American independent film called Killer of Sheep. It cost $10,000 to make. It cost us $450,000 in 2007 to release. It cost us another $200,000 to release it again this year. But Charles Burnett is the godfather of African-American cinema. He is the most brilliant, gentle, kindest person on earth. And his being transformed our company from our motto before was the best films from any time, anywhere, to we like to mess with the canon. There is a more earthy way of saying it, which I won't say here. But we started working on African-American films, LGBT films, films that people ignored because of their makers, because they were African-American, because they were women, because they were gay, Latino. So we changed the direction of our company to match our politics. And we have done now 6 or 7 Charles Burnett films, and he's still one of our dearest, best friends. And that changed the company. So Queen Kelly is sort of an aberration, but it is still produced by a woman, and it still celebrates this fabulous woman. So it fits in with our catalog that way.
Yes, yes, and Gloria Swanson was such a strong personality, and it's amazing how she produced her own film at that moment. And people usually undermine the scale and the potential of her whole. Even as a collaborator in Sunset Boulevard, for example. And I think it's important to remember the importance of her as an actress, but not just as an actress. Not that being an actress is not enough, but she was not just an actress.
She had no college education.
Yes.
I don't think she finished high school. But she learned every day of her life. And she brought in 5 scientists from Nazi Germany, saved their lives, and created a company to produce what they could invent and paid them salaries. She started a fashion label that was quite successful and remarkably advanced for its time. She was a really good fashion designer. She was an artist. She was a sculptor. She was a promoter of organic and organic food and veganism decades before. I mean, everybody laughed at her for decades, and now everybody is following her diet. Nice. I mean, she didn't care about anybody else. She knew what was right, and she knew who she was, and she was always Gloria Swanson. And each day was a new day that she was going to find something new. She never lived in the past like Norma Desmond. So
yes.
She was just this fabulous person, and I've worked on 5 of her films, and I've been very lucky to do that.
And thinking about the politics of Miilestone and your previous answer, just to finish, a question about something similar. We always make this question. We always ask about recommendation, but specifically one movie directed by women, or one female director you like a lot, or something like this you can recommend to our public.
Well, because she is here and because I love her work so much, Eugène Palsy, Sugarcane Alley, Simeon, all her films. Dry White Season is playing here. I love her. I love her films. I love what she stands for, and she is one of the most important directors in the world, and I hope people get to see her films this weekend.
Amazing. Great recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isabel.
Espero que você tenha gostado dessa entrevista com o Denis Doros. Eu acho que é realmente para quem gosta assim de cinema antigo, para quem gosta das grandes estrelas do cinema, para quem se interessa por história de cinema, eu acho que saber desses bastidores da preservação, esses processos que são tão difíceis, né? Quando a gente pensa em quantos filmes que já se perderam, acho que é muito interessante saber como que funciona esse trabalho. Eu, particularmente, fiquei fascinada por tudo que envolve aí o Queen Kelly. E, bom, siga o Feito por Elas nas nossas redes sociais. A gente tá lá no Blue Sky, no Instagram, no Letterboxd. É só procurar por Feito por Elas. Avalie o nosso programa aí no iTunes, no YouTube, no aplicativo da sua preferência. Além do site e do feed, os programas também estão disponíveis em todas as plataformas de podcast e no YouTube, né? E se você quiser, pode entrar no nosso grupo do Telegram, que é conhecido como o melhor lugar da internet para conversar sobre qualquer coisa e não só sobre cinema. Mande seus comentários para o nosso e-mail contato@feitoporelas.com.br ou no nosso site. Se você quiser apoiar o nosso projeto, a gente tem várias opções de financiamento coletivo. Você pode conferir lá no feitoporelas.com.br/apoie, que tem todas as opções, e você também pode mandar um pix avulso, que é o nosso e-mail, né? O contato @feitoporelas.com.br. E outro jeito de nos ajudar, é claro, é sempre divulgar o nosso projeto para chegar a novas pessoas, divulgar as nossas críticas, enfim. Obrigada pela audiência, né? E até o próximo programa. Entrevista, pesquisa, pauta e apresentação, Isabel Wittmann. Filmagem e edição de imagem, Camila Henriques. Edição de som, Isabel Wittmann. Transcrição e tradução, Isabel Wittmann. Legendagem, Camila Henriques. Produção e arte da capa, Isabel Wittmann. Vinheta de abertura composta por Felipe Aires. E locução da vinheta, Débora Garcia.